We're live.
This is the Cafe Racer podcast for April 6th, 2019, episode 140. I'm Crash.
And I'm Steven.
And I'm Jeds.
I gotta find the music.
After all this talk about the music
well, I'll just dub it in because
Yep.
Yeah, I can't find it now.
Wait, where did it go?
What the hell is wrong with me?
Yeah, we are back to our old selves again, botching the intro.
It's the food coma, man.
If we're not screwing up the intro, it's not normal.
No.
Yeah, we're live.
Yay, we made it.
We got a guest with us. We got Jeds from Jed's Moto.
Yeah.
Here, the consummate hooligan and wild man.
I try.
You do a good job too, buddy.
You're in Vermont, right?
Correct.
Do Vermont people, like, what do you call people from Vermont?
Vermonters.
Vermonters?
Vermonters. But you got to keep the T out.
Yeah.
We don't say T's. Vermonters.
Okay. I just wasn't sure, like,
what do you mean
Vermontians.
It's just Vermont.
It's Vermont. Yeah, I mean, it's supposed to be Vermont, but we just say Vermont.
Are people from Vermont as weird as people from upstate New York?
Yeah, they're different, man. I mean, it all depends. It depends on where you're going in upstate New York too, because there's some real hunyaks over in upstate New York. So
I don't even know what that word. I've never heard that word before in my life. But all right.
Explain this to us now, Jess, because I've never heard that before either.
A hunyak is kind of like a delinquent redneck. So,
okay.
You know, a redneck's kind of like a guy that works the land or works hard at doing something, but, you know, is a redneck. But a hunyak is like a delinquent redneck, just like kind of a step above white trash.
All right.
I'm digging that, man. We don't have those down here, but there's a whole other slew of weirdos down here. So.
Yeah, you live in a very multinational part of the world.
Well, and it's funny too, because remember that show that Chuck used to like a lot, where they podcast where they did those weird stories all the time?
Oh yeah, the Archibus something.
Archibus, yeah. So they would do like an entire episode on Florida.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's fucking Florida. Sorry for the F-bomb for anyone that's listening. I apologize this time. I probably won't apologize the next time. I don't know. It's hit or miss. But Florida is nuts.
It's all, anytime you hear like the weirdest possible story or the strangest like crime that happened, it originated in Florida.
Yeah, I took a creative writing class for my college degree like a couple months ago, and we had to write a piece of creative nonfiction, which is sort of like a memoir or like a news type story that's like intentionally using sort of like literary techniques to tell a true story. And so I was like, I took a compilation of articles that all had the words Florida man in the headline, and basically wrote this story as if the Florida man was a marauding supervillain who was like going across Florida wreaking havoc. And then all these stories were like, you know, what he did, what he got up to, like a homeless guy that beat the crap out of another guy over a bottle of vodka and like hit him with threw his bicycle at him.
All right, so let me tell you how weird Florida's getting now, because we've noticed in the past, and I know, Jeds, we probably pointed this out to you. So just to give a little clarification here, Justin, Jed's Moto, came down for a visit recently, and he did like an epic ride to Daytona, and then drove down to here, and Scott from Eamon Moto met up with him, and I met up with the guys like late in the ride, but we went down to Miami and then went back up to Broward. But these guys did a whole bunch of riding when they were in Florida, or at least when Jez was in Florida. But did you notice, or did we talk about the amount of iguanas in Florida?
No, we didn't talk about iguanas.
Okay, so Florida, especially South Florida, it's actually becoming a problem with this. The states recognize it now. And I guess this started like any other invasive animal. They started as pets, small green iguanas. They get big, people release them into the wild. Well, they mate like rabbits. And you can literally drive down the Florida Turnpike like on a warm day, look on the side of the road, and you'll see hundreds of them.
Really?
Yeah, honest to God.
The lizard people running the world have got to be mad about this, that their like offspring are so easily visible.
They're everywhere. So there's a guy, I happen to find out that in certain places in the Caribbean, they eat these things.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, obviously, like every other exotic food, it tastes like chicken.
Mm-hmm.
But so I did a Google search for eating iguana, and a YouTube channel pops up with this guy called the Iguana Man. And he's promoting in Florida catching and preparing and eating iguana in the style of, he's from Trinidad. And I know a lot about Trinidad only because where I work in the office, there's literally almost the entire office staff are from Trinidad. And it's a multinational flavored country like the United States is, where there are people that have Indian backgrounds and all kinds of different backgrounds in Trinidad. So the food, Trinidadian food, is incredible. It's very good. But so I reached out to this guy and sent him a message on Instagram and said, hey, is there a place where you can get an iguana meal in South Florida? And he's like, DM me and I'll hook you up. So
my house.
Yeah. He's like, this guy's uncle is like a chef and prepares it. So I'm going to try iguana.
All right. Well, you'll have to let us know how it goes.
I might even do like a little video and throw it up.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. But that's Florida, man. You know, like where else are you going to go and eat a giant lizard? Nowhere but here in this weirdness.
Yeah.
It's gotten to be so bad the state's actually talking about a hunting program, you know, and this guy's promoting it and saying, hey, look, they're high in protein, they're low in fat, they're delicious. So why not eat them? So I'll let you guys know how that turns out.
I just imagine some like a tractor slowly driving along the shoulder with like something just scooping them up. Like just like flipping them into a hopper.
It's almost that bad. Honest to God. It's almost that bad. I went and looked at a property with a friend and we walked in the backyard. It was like a kind of a golf community sort of, and there was like a lake in the back. There were 60, 70 of them just out sunning. So yeah.
What do you want? Go away.
Right. Exactly.
It's not like, okay, since it's Florida, I got to imagine it's a combination between those like upright walking bug things from Men in Black and old Jewish women.
Yeah.
So like the iguanas are like, you never call your mother. Like,
we're getting together for mahjong in an hour.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, people are out there like feeding them lox and bagels and stuff. So you never know.
Oh my God.
So in other well, it's two-wheeled related news, but it's not motorcycle news exactly. I bought an electric bicycle. Jeds, you have one.
Correct.
Yeah. I haven't gotten to ride. I don't have possession of my bike yet because
I'm not sure I understand this concept here.
Do you want to explain, Jed?
Sure. So, I mean, I guess it's kind of a newish thing. Seems to be sweeping around. They're basically bicycles that have electric motors on them. In my eyes, they're kind of like the electric mopeds of the 21st century.
Yeah, I totally agree.
So let me get this right. You pedal the bike to generate power to charge the battery, and then the battery runs the bike?
No. They're pedal assist. So you pedal and you can be completely out of shape, and the motor will, every time you push down on the pedal, the motor will drive the rear wheel. So it feels like you're pedaling nothing, but you're going quickly down the road.
Okay. So. Did you guys realize that this was like a big controversy in the Tour de France?
No.
They caught a guy that had engineered a small motor that fit in the down tube of the bicycle. You couldn't see it. The only way you could tell it was there was by weighing the bike. And they showed some video. It's like a $10,000 thing the guy adds, you know, secretly to the bike. But they showed a couple of videos of like guys crashing in a corner and their wheels are still spinning. So it's kind of like Jed's explained. It's an assist. So it gave you just enough power, like on a climb or something like that, where you could beat another guy.
Right.
But this was real high tech, real small, real tiny.
So to give you an example, I have a single speed, which for anybody that's not familiar with bikes means there's no gear shifting. There's only it's just like your bike isn't when you were a kid. You pedal and that's all you get. I can go about 13 to 14 miles an hour at my normal cadence on flat ground with my single speed. At the same cadence, so the same pedaling speed on the e-bike I bought, I'm doing like 25.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a big difference. Is it obvious? Like you can obviously see the motor on this thing, or does it look like a regular bike?
Yeah. So there's basically 3 different places to put the motor. There's the rear hub, the crank, and the front hub. And some bikes I've seen actually have a motor in the rear hub and the front hub. So you have like a 2-wheel drive bicycle.
Oh boy.
And then like a lot of the more higher end e-bikes have it in the crank because that's supposedly like the most like the best place for in terms of like feel and like reproducing like a real normal bicycle experience.
You can also utilize the gears with the crank motor because it powers through the drivetrain.
Yeah, so you could have like a full 21 speed or whatever, 27 speed gear setup and still have a motor.
How much do these things cost?
The sky's the limit. Anywhere from around like $800 or $900 for like a super cheap, the kind of do-it-yourself kit to as many thousands of dollars as you'd really like to pay for what you want to get.
Right. I know the Yamahas are like $2,400.
They make Yamaha makes an electric bicycle.
Yeah,
Correct.
They make a motor that goes in a good amount of electric bicycles.
Man, I never knew this. It's just like I'm learning something brand new today.
I was looking at doing it for commuting, partially inspired by hearing Jed's talk about doing it in our Slack, and I went to the local Trek store and tried a couple of their bikes. I knew they'd have a bunch of bikes and let me ride whatever I wanted, but I also knew they were going to be at a premium price. The bike that I liked the most that they had is actually their police version. But it's kind of stripped down in terms of other features, like just the geometry and the way you were sitting felt really nice to me, but it doesn't come with like built-in lights or fenders or anything like that. The one that I got, is by a company called Juiced Bikes. They've got a pretty good Instagram presence because they also make this little, basically, if you think of like what an actual moped looks like, they make an electric bike that looks like that as well. So like I bought one that looks like a regular mountain bike or like a fat tire mountain bike, but Juiced also makes one that they call the Scrambler that looks kind of like a Honda Ruckus e-bike. So it's more like motorcycle-esque. And they make them that'll go all the way up to like 45 miles an hour, but they're for off-road use only because you're not legally allowed to have an engine that goes over 28 on the street.
What happens? I mean, this is going to sound like a stupid question, but what happens if you get caught on this thing? Like,
oh, you mean
I'm
like
looking at the Scrambler right now, and it looks like an old school kind of Schwinn bike with a big long banana seat on it. And you bought that, the Scrambler?
No, I bought the Rip Current S.
Okay.
Which just looks like a fat tire mountain bike.
I got you.
But so the Scrambler, the 2 lower models of the Scrambler are 100% road legal. Like you're allowed to go anywhere on them. The faster one, like the 1100 or whatever, because it's an 1100 watt motor. That Scrambler is technically not supposed to be ridden on public roads because it's I think it comes down to like an equivalent of like it's higher power than like a 50cc scooter.
I guess I'm missing something here. Like, why wouldn't you just ride your motorcycle?
Well, there's a little more of me on the earth than I'd like there to be, for one. And so having to pedal a little bit for like a couple hours a day would help me reduce.
Are you saying I'm fat?
No, yeah, I'm saying I'm fat.
There's significantly more of me on the earth than there is of you. You're like a skinny dude compared to me,
fat.
Man. I'm big time fat.
But
okay, again, I understand the concept, and why not just ride a regular bicycle?
It's too slow. I have a 15-mile commute.
And
so being able to do that in under an hour is like a huge game changer for me in terms of getting good from work.
And not just that, I mean, you're going to be soaked on your way to work. That's why I have a 20-mile commute, and I'm trying.
So you're going to ride this thing 20 miles to work?
Yeah.
And how long do you anticipate it'll take you to get there?
I'm gonna plan 2 hours.
What do you have?
Or an hour and a half. I have the FLX Trail.
It's remarkably similar to the one that I got. It's the same motor, I think, like the same electric bike system, just a different like frame and other component manufacturers.
Yep, it was the one I liked because the battery was concealed in the down tube.
Yeah,
and it's a new series Bafang motor. It's really nice. I've used it once, but the problem is it was winter, so the battery life doesn't last very long when it's cold. So I'm kind of waiting till we get the temps above 55 degrees, and I'll start commuting.
Okay, so I see these have like 2 options on batteries. What's the charge time on this?
I think it's like 4 hours.
Yeah, so
from completely depleted.
You can bring it inside too. It's not like a motorcycle where you got to park it outside.
Right. I was
right.
Yep.
Yeah, we have where I work, we have like a covered bike rack right outside my office, and I bought an extra charger so that I can leave a charger at work. So it's probably going to take me like 30 to 40% of the battery to get to work. Because mine, I don't know what the size of the battery is on yours, Jeds. Mine is positively enormous.
Mm-hmm.
I can probably go like 60 miles in a day on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to bring it in, charge it the rest of the way up, and then I can still do like Postmates delivery after work in downtown San Diego because I have to go through downtown to get home. So I'll be able to like still do food delivery if I want, or go ride out to the beach or whatever. And basically it'll be my car replacement for during the week.
Yep.
Wow, this is crazy. And I guess obviously if they're hub motors, you could add it to an existing bicycle, right?
Yep, you can buy kits for that.
Yeah.
They don't look as nice because they're not, as heavily integrated into the bicycle's frame and stuff.
Right, and the battery gets real bulky. You got to figure out how you're going to store that.
Yeah, and
you have to pedal though, right? This is not something that
you
can just, or it is.
Jez, does yours have a trigger throttle?
Mine does not, but I can get one. But
yeah,
yours is throttled.
Yeah, so mine is throttled up to 20 miles an hour. It will not go faster than that unless I go in the settings and turn that up. But one of the things, so yeah, I can sit from a stop. Like if I'm sitting on a hill and like I'm at a stoplight or whatever, waiting to go, and I don't want to start pedaling on this super tough hill, I can just hit the throttle and get some speed up before I start pedaling.
Oh, this is crazy. I guess I've just never noticed this because they look like bicycles.
Right. I went to, so let me start over. I was doing all this research online, talking to Jeds, looking on the internet, and I kept coming back to this one Juiced Bikes model, not actually the one that I bought. But it looked like the best sort of compromise of price and features for me. And then I got into a live chat with somebody on their website, and I found out they were in Chula Vista, California, which is where I used to live there like a couple months ago. They're like less than 5 minutes from my old house. So I was like, hold on, you guys are that close. Can I just come see one in person? Like the biggest thing that's holding me up here is that I haven't actually ridden a rear hub electric bike before, and I don't know if I'm going to like it. And they're like, yeah, come on down. So got off work, went down there. They brought out, a handful of bikes. I should have asked them if they could bring out the like off-road only scrambler, because I bet that thing was super fun. But I got up to like 30 miles an hour in their parking lot, just riding around their building.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was great. And I was definitely still working. Like my legs were starting to burn a little bit, and like I was still getting exercise out of it, but I was going about twice as fast as I can by myself.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. I mean, yeah, I guess, you know what? Maybe this is going to be like the future of everything. Because I see the company, the FLX, they have skateboards.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Juiced has some skateboards. A lot of the e-bike companies are basically, making everything.
Mm-hmm.
Well, with the motorcycles becoming more popular, I'm just wondering at what point is like obviously with something like this, you take it to work and you plug it in a 110 outlet and you're not paying for the electricity, right?
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not 100% sure how it works on cars. So if you're traveling around the country in a Tesla and you stop someplace that has a fill station, do you pay for that?
Yeah.
Okay, so you buy like a card or something and then you pay for it, right?
Yeah. So if you stop at a Tesla supercharger, that's all done through your Tesla app on your phone. Basically, you pull up, you connect via your phone, and it charges you. It charges your car and your bank account.
Yeah. So how about the motorcycles? If you have like a 110 adapter for like a zero motorcycle, you're plugging it into somebody's plug at work. You're not paying for that, right?
Yeah. If I had a zero motorcycle, I would honestly probably park it in the bicycle rack area, and so our locker room at work backs up to the bicycle rack, and there's like a window that's kind of always half open to let because our locker room has a shower in it, so to keep ventilation there, we have a window open a little bit all the time. I'd probably run an extension cord into the locker room so that I could charge my zero if I had a zero or any other electric motorcycle.
I'm just wondering at what point it's going to be an issue to generate, as more and more people go electric and more people use things like this, the bicycle, the motorcycle, the car, if that's the way we're going, we still have to use some sort of way to generate the power, whether it's fossil fuel or nuclear or whatever.
Right.
And
I know that. Oh, go ahead.
I'm just wondering what the cost difference is going to be. Like I looked on Tesla's site and it was definitely significantly cheaper to buy the power than it was to buy fuel.
Oh yeah, you can charge like a zero, for example, you're paying for like a few dollars total to get 150 miles of range,
The only thing you have to factor in though is the cost of the replacement battery. That has to be factored in to the ride.
Yeah, because the battery is gonna eventually.
Yeah, and the bicycle thing says like I'm looking at the Rip Current one or the FLX one. It's like 2-year warranty on the battery, right? I mean, Jez, do they give you an idea how long that thing's going to last?
They warranty for 2 years. I have no idea. I'm going to guess probably 5, and then you're going to start losing your charge capacity. But it's a Panasonic unit, so it's a nice quality battery. It's the same quality they use for the Teslas, and I mean, yeah, you're going to pay for the battery instead of paying for fuel. But I mean, that's an interesting conversation to have. I know that legislation-wise, my state is looking at taxing electric vehicles differently because they don't pay fuel. So we don't get any fuel tax income on that. So, this electric vehicle thing is definitely the way of the future, but it's definitely going to put a kink in a lot of the standard kind of systems we have in place.
Right. So the 52-volt battery pack for the Juiced is $800. And if you get 5 years out of that, that's not bad. That's not a lot, really, when you amortize that out over the course of how many rides you do or how many miles or how many recharge cycles.
Yeah, it does take a long time to charge their biggest battery. I will say that. If you don't have not so much an aftermarket, but if you don't have like one of the special fast chargers, which I did not buy, from 0 to full is like a solid 9 hours.
Oof.
Yeah. It's a big ass battery.
That's huge, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the fast battery charger's like $320.
Yeah.
I'm looking on the Juiced website now.
Yeah. Oh, the other random thing. So when I was there talking to Sandy, the woman that does the demos and stuff, she got so excited when I said I wanted to buy one, by the way. Like she was like beside herself. It was really funny. I don't know why she seemed to have gotten the impression that I had showed up just to ride their bikes and not buy one. But when I was like, okay, so can I buy one? She was like, what? Yeah, sure. But when we went into her office and she's like putting the order in for me, She goes, "Oh, have you heard of the alarm we have?" And I was like, "No." I was, poking around on your website a little bit, but I really only looked at the bikes. They have uh it's an integrated horn / like alarm that it basically, like the kind of beeper, like on a motorcycle, like beeper horn.
Yeah.
It sounds kind of like that, and it just mounts to the front of the bike or wherever it goes. I don't know exactly. And then there's on your right hand grip, there's a button, so you can honk at friggin' jackass pedestrians or cars that are trying to run you off the road. Because apparently, cyclists do not count as people to people driving cars. I don't remember exactly what study I heard about that from, but like I heard about a study where car drivers don't see cyclists as being human, basically. Like, and there were different ways of like mitigating the likelihood that you were going to be in a crash. Like, obviously, like people that were obviously women were in less danger than cyclists that were obviously men. And so they even had male cyclists put on a blonde wig, like a long-haired blonde wig, and then put their helmet on and ride, and they got into less accidents than.
I gotta tell you, I honestly believe
what.
Yeah, I can tell you that the worst road rage I've ever experienced was when I was on a bicycle.
Yeah.
And I think it's also directly related to the size of the thing you're riding and how fast it goes, because I think it's like a sliding scale. So bicycles, mopeds, scooters, small motorcycles, medium, large, to like big giant cruisers riding two abreast. That they seem to get more respect from
Yeah.
I've literally had people on my KTM, which is a big bike, try to take the same lane space as I was in.
Yeah.
And there was a guy I remember in Jupiter, the main road where I used to live, like stopped at a stoplight. It's a 2-lane road and I'm in the right-hand lane, and the guy behind me tries to squeeze in between the side of the road and me to make a right-hand turn, like I didn't even exist, and I'm
Yeah.
screaming at the guy. And I think the other issue is that people don't really understand the law that relates to bicycles. Like in Florida, you're allowed to take the entire lane if you're
Yep.
riding a bicycle.
Yeah.
And you're not allowed to be on the sidewalk. And I've had people come up to me, roll down their window and scream at me, "Get off the road, get on the sidewalk." No, you jackass. That's for pedestrian traffic, not for bicycles.
Yeah.
The same token, there's people. Yesterday, I almost hit a guy on a bike because I was coming out of a parking lot. I was turned to the left, looking at traffic. The guy's riding on the sidewalk against traffic and not even paying attention. And I go to move, and all of a sudden he's in front of me. Thank God I saw him. I stopped. But not, that's also worth a traffic ticket right there, because you ride with traffic on the road. It's just seeing now that we're going to have bicycles that are capable of doing 25, 30 miles an hour. This is going to probably increase the amount of accidents that we have.
Yeah.
You're
the
right
one thing
about
that
I believe that 100%, that cars don't see as a human.
Yeah, I've been cycling and had people literally go out of their way to run me off the road. Like they were, it was like some teenagers that thought it would be funny to like try to make me run off the road.
Right. Not realizing they could kill you.
Right. Yeah. So the horn thing I was really excited about because I think it's like $50 or whatever, and it's powered by the onboard battery. So it just mounts on the bike. I can now honk at people to get their attention before I yell at them, and then it also works as a motion sensitive alarm. So like you can just click it and then if anybody tries to move your bike, it just starts going off like super loud. It's like if it senses motion in the wheels.
Yeah, there's a ton of accessories I'm looking at for these. There's like displays and stuff, and
yeah,
it's kind of crazy. I didn't even realize this stuff was out there.
Speaking of displays and getting us into the track of motorcycles, I saw the 2019 KTM Super Duke GT.
Yeah,
they have 2 of them at the dealership where my bike is right now, and I think from the front the bike is ugly. I like mine more, but that friggin' TFT dashboard
I know. I wish I
is
could put one on my bike.
huge. Like, it's so big. I've seen similar TFTs that were like a third that size. This is like a small iPad, like the iPad Mini or whatever.
I like it though.
It's friggin' enormous, and the handguards on this bike are also really, really burly and nice looking. And I think I might be getting a set for my KTM because my KTM's insurance estimate thing all went through. Have we talked since? I don't think we have. We haven't had an episode since I talked about somebody dropping the KTM, have we?
No,
I didn't know somebody dropped the KTM.
So yeah, actually, for anybody listening, at the end of this episode, we're gonna drop a recording of an interview I did with Guillermo Cornejo from Riders Share. Riders Share is a very similar service to Twisted Road, so it's like Airbnb for your bike. And while my bike was on a Riders Share ride, somebody dropped it.
Dropped it how? Like wrecked it, or it fell over in a parking lot?
Really low speed in a residential area, like was doing like a left turn in a residential and like tipped over. Like I don't know exactly. But because it's a KTM and everything is super expensive, the estimate came out to like $3,000.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But I'm not going to replace most of that stuff. I mean, because they did the typical dealer estimate thing where like, oh, this has a scratch on it that needs to be replaced. So they wanted to replace, and they didn't want to, but they put on the estimate both the left foot pegs, the rider and passenger foot peg, and the shifter, which all just have like a little scuff on the outer edge of them. And like some rocks or something bounced up, like gravel off the road kind of bounced up and like nicked up the subframe. So they put a new subframe on there. There's no need for a $1,000 subframe to be installed on the bike. It's perfectly fine. So
well, okay, how does this work now with the insurance? Who's covering this?
Yeah, so I know we've talked to Austin from Twisted Road, and they, as of right now, are not offering any sort of insurance for your motorcycle. It is all like basically by the grace of God, they hope that if anything happens, the other person's insurance company pays. The Riders Share takes out has a commercial insurance policy that covers the rented vehicle anytime it's rented. So they have a deductible that they pay. So apparently they have a $2,000 deductible. So my bike gets dropped for $3,000. Insurance company pays $1,000. Riders Share pays $1,000, as long as everything is approved. Mm-hmm. And everything was approved. I didn't talk about my experience that much with Guillermo on air because I didn't want that to be the focus of our conversation. But the only real issue that I had was that the guy that dropped my bike was a douche.
In what way?
Well, he acted like that. Well, I'll start at the beginning. He was extremely annoying. Like before he even picked up the bike, he just kept sending me all these he was texting me a bunch, like kind of irritating me. I'm like, dude, I'm just the guy with the bike. You figure out what you want to do, and like, do you want to rent the bike or not? Rent it, don't rent it. I don't give a shit. Just make up your mind. And then when he came to pick it up, he got really kind of overly anal retentive, I think, with some of the pictures he took. Like, oh, this is damage that I want to make sure that I'm not going to get charged for. He took a picture of my muffler that was dirty. Mm-hmm. I'm like, yeah, that's I've ridden in the rain, so there's dirt on the bike. I mean, I was like, I'm not gonna hit you up for dirt on my muffler when you get back. But
oh my God.
Either way, this ended up working against him because he took all these super meticulous pictures of the bike, which you're encouraged to do and upload them to the website. But when you check the bike out from the owner, so he took all these, pictures, which basically means, okay, cool. You went way above and beyond on the pictures. So anything that's on the bike when I get it back must have been you. So whether or not some of these scratches were him, I could honestly tell you I'm not sure. But they got noticed by the insurance or by the estimator, and they got put on the estimate, and he's getting charged for them. So that was the first thing that was annoying me. And then like while he had the bike, he took a picture of the dash, and the cruise control like system indicator light was on. He's like, "Hey, what's this light?" I'm like, dude, you have first of all, have you driven a car? Have you not ever seen what cruise control looks like? Second of all, you have the internet. You can figure this out. I'm not your friggin' babysitter. Like, I have a job. I'm trying to do my job. Leave me alone. Just ride my damn bike. But like, nothing is wrong. That is the cruise control, you douche. Anyway,
it's like you're making a case for me not to do this because
maybe
of guys like this.
I mean, there are definitely going to be negative experiences, but in 4,500 total rental days, they've had 35 accidents with riders share.
Yeah, I'm sure the majority of them went smoothly, you know, to correct the damage and stuff. But
this guy, then the thing that really like pushed me over the edge with this guy was when he brought the bike back, he acted like dropping the bike was nothing. Like he didn't, like it was no big deal. He's like, yeah, the little kickstand thing that catches your foot broke, but like it's no big deal. They'll be really good about replacing it. And I'm like, okay, what about my side bag that's all scratched up now? And like, I didn't sit there with him and do like a full inventory of everything because I just wanted to get rid of him and like get the bike taken care of by a professional. But like, he immediately was like acting like, oh, it's no big deal. I dropped your bike, whatever. Like, it'll be fine.
After he took all these pictures.
Right. And like, honestly, if he had showed up acting like he was in the least bit sorry, I would not have hated him so much. Like, I guess it doesn't really matter that I hate him. It's not hurting him any.
But he copped an attitude. And
yeah.
The experience you had with him in the beginning was bad to begin with because you copped an attitude and was like.
And then to like bring my, you know, $17,000 motorcycle back after having dropped it and act like it's no big deal. Like, I feel like you should, if it's up to me to decide whether it's a big deal, like not up to him.
What's his standing with rider share after something like this? Is he allowed to continue to rent bikes or do they?
Partially. So I don't know if there was anything in his past rider share experiences. Because he also is an owner that rents bikes out as well. And from talking to him, it sounds like he intentionally screws people over. Like he said something about like, oh yeah, I've used rider share to get like new parts, you know, on stuff that people, you know, messed up. But it, like,
great.
Yeah. So I, you know, when I was completing my end of the rental, I gave him a 1-star review and said like he dropped my bike and didn't care about it and acted like it was nothing. And then he left me a 1-star review, which was my only review. So like I then had a total like aggregate review of 1 star. So I reached out to the company. I was like, hey, I don't think this 1-star review is fair. And it's a small company. The owner, Guillermo, is the guy that messaged me back for the support ticket. And he's like, what? He's like, you know, can we talk? You know, we explain why you think it's not fair. So I told him the story and he goes, oh yeah, we'll take that off. Like so they took off. Oh man, they took off the review, and apparently he is now, the guy that rented the bike is now no longer able to rent bikes from the service. I don't think that was, I mean, that wasn't like, I didn't ask for that, you know.
Yeah, maybe that's not his first rodeo.
Right, that's what I mean. I suspect that he's been kind of a problem child in the past. And something else that's really exciting that RiderShare is doing right now is I think we talked about it in the interview, but they're testing alongside their normal procedure. They're testing like basically this machine learning algorithm that predicts which riders are going to be the highest risk. And he said they've got it to the point where it's predicting like basically the top 13% of like high risk riders just based on a couple of factors before they even pick the bike up. And so he has plans to like use that information to help his insurance rate get down, which would let him charge a lower percentage of the rental fee to riders or to owners, so owners would get more money and be able to charge more money to high risk people in terms of like their fees to rent.
Right.
So it sounds really cool. They're definitely doing a lot of really interesting stuff, and he said it's really interesting because they're apparently doing very well. Like they're very successful. Even like just before the interview started, he was like, "Hold on, I got to go give the keys to my bike to somebody who's renting it." So he went and like handed his bike off and then came back.
You think it's in some sense it's cost effective to even like go out and buy like a used SR 400 or something and just have it for that purpose and only that purpose?
I'm thinking about doing that. So Riders Share does not take motorcycles that are older than the year 2000. Twisted Road will take anything. And me and Dave Hargraves from Cerberus Moto are actually talking about, with another friend of ours, are talking about getting a couple like classic Hondas and, you know, getting them all like in good working order and pretty good cosmetic order, basically making them usable, serviceable, kind of like daily riders, and having a little rental fleet on Twisted Road to rent out of like, you know, up in Long Beach or here in San Diego.
Let's take this one step farther. Do you think this will go the route of like Zipcar, or there's a thing down here with electric scooters where you have like an app on your phone, right? And
right.
Go
Are you talking about Lime or Bird?
Something. There's a couple of them down here. I forgot the names of them, but you kind of see these things like all over the place, like on a street corner, because you can leave it wherever you. It's not like Zipcar where it's got to be at a certain place. This you can just park it, and then the next person comes up and rides it. Now, some of the cities are getting kind of pissed, and they're starting to pick these things up as abandoned vehicles. But I mean, I can imagine it could almost go the same route with a motorcycle.
Maybe. I think the maintenance on a motorcycle would be kind of like would make that, I don't know, sort of tricky. I guess if you had enough of them and they were standardized enough, you could maybe have like a couple of parking lots throughout a city that you could go pick one up and bring it back to any of those lots, maybe.
Right. Or deal with a business where you could put it in their lot, you know, and pick it up and drop it off. I'm just kind of seeing. Well, it'd be interesting to find out how it goes with you and Dave. You know, like if this turns into something that's lucrative, because that's not a bad idea, honestly. It's just then you've got to deal with, is it convenient for you when you're renting this thing to get to people with keys and all that?
Right. I mean, in the case of like with on Dave's end, so Dave would be doing this all out of an extra space that Jay at Losa has. So up in Long Beach, you know, Jay's got his office and shop space. Well, he's got an extra bay, like basically that's got like a car lift and some other stuff in it. We'd be operating out of there. So people would just come to Losa to pick up the bike within, you know, certain hours. You know, we'd be kind of running it like a straight ahead, you know, vehicle rental business. And then, you know, the thought was possibly if we had enough of the bikes to like leave a couple of them down at my place and here in San Diego, so that like if somebody in San Diego wanted to rent a CB750 for the weekend, that we'd have one already down here and I could, you know, they could come to my house and pick it up.
Yeah, that's an interesting concept. I mean, I can see it. I think the insurance could be an issue if you're on your own, only because I'm not sure how an insurance company would feel about using the bike as a rental unless you just didn't report that and say, hey, a friend of mine was riding it and dropped it, you know?
Right. So you'd definitely be wanting to get like a commercial insurance policy, because one of the dangers that I was talking about with Guillermo is like, say the absolute worst thing happens. Someone rents your bike and kills a pedestrian. Like they get in an accident, run a pedestrian over, person dies.
Right.
If there's no commercial insurance policy, the family of that pedestrian can go after the rider and the owner of the vehicle. So they could come after me, even though I didn't have anything to do with it. Like the guy just was riding my bike. There's laws that protect like there's like laws and other insurance related things that if there was a commercial policy that would all of the liability would fall on the individual, they would have like signed waivers and whatever, and then also it would be sort of like establishing a corporation to protect my personal assets.
Mm-hmm.
The commercial insurance would be providing indemnity against my personal assets to keep them from being
No, I got it. Yeah, I mean, at some point, maybe even form another LLC.
Yeah,
but it's interesting. I mean, especially now, kind of combining that with the whole electric bike topic too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's scooters. There's the companies that make the scooters. A few of them also do electric bike rentals. Like Uber owns their Jump. So Jump has scooters and electric bikes. Lime has bikes that I don't think are pedal assist, but they have bicycles that you can just pick up and drop off wherever.
Lime bikes I've seen around here in town and stuff, like in Miami downtown. Fort Lauderdale's got something too with some sort of bike you can rent, but I don't think it's an e-bike. But those electric scooters are all over the place. Matter of fact, there's some people there's a parking lot in Fort Lauderdale by the beach at night where the people just go there and rent them and like ride around the parking lot for fun real fast. I've never actually looked at what the cost of these things are, but it seems like it's getting more popular. It does look kind of weird though when you see them abandoned in places by design, like the next person is supposed to come get it. But there was also a controversy I think in Miami Beach where a competing company was going in and like picking all these bikes from the other company up and taking them.
Yeah.
So that they weren't available to use and like relocating them someplace, not stealing them, but just moving them out of the area and putting them someplace else.
I signed up to be a charger for Bird scooters where like I would go pick them up at the end of the night and plug them in and they would pay me a fee and then I would go drop them off in the morning. It didn't really end up working out for me with like my work schedule that much, but it was like freaking like Mad Max, Wild West craziness in certain parts of San Diego with like, there were like 3 different crews that would work downtown and they would have like a pickup truck with a utility trailer behind it. And there'd be like 5 or 6 guys that would just get out and like swarm all over downtown and just grab the scooters and like throw them in the back of their car or in the truck to go charge them. Because really, like the more you charge in a night, the more money you make. But they weren't following like the actual procedure that Bird wants you to follow, where like you show up, you find a scooter that needs to be charged using their app. You scan that scooter, which then locks it to you. And then you put it in your vehicle and then you go find another one. Well, these guys would just swarm all over, throw all the scooters in a pile and then just scan them all. And literally fights would break out. Like multiple, because the problem was like there'd be 2 or 3 different crews of guys with like 5 or 6 guys each trying to like get to the scooters as fast as they could downtown. And they would end up like fighting over, it was like turf wars. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's why I stopped doing it. I'm just one guy. I'm not. I just wanted to charge like maybe like 5 or 6 of them, and that was it.
Right.
Not 100.
Well, I mean, the guy's probably paying those guys next to nothing too.
Yeah.
That's doing it and just looking to cash in as much as you can. Right.
I mean, yeah, like $3 to $5 a scooter. You got to charge a lot of scooters to like necessitate to warrant having that big of an operation.
What do you recall what you were getting paid for that?
Yeah, like $3 to $5 per.
$3 to $5.
Yeah.
Per. Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, per scooter charged
really
overnight.
I guess really not worth it.
Yeah, I mean, because I didn't realize that the scene was that competitive and kind of ridiculous.
Right.
And so I figured like, oh, well, I've got an SUV. I'll just pick up a couple on the way home from work and then charge them overnight and bring them back on the way into work. But Bird also is really kind of picky about when you can pick up and drop off scooters. So it's not just like at any time. So you can't just open up your phone and go, oh, there's a scooter that needs to be charged. Let me go grab it. You can only pick up, or most scooters are only available after 9 p.m. and then they have to be out again before 7 a.m. So I'm like, well, when am I supposed to sleep?
Screw that. Exactly. All right. So I'm interested to find out how this works out,
Yeah.
But on both things, on the rental and on the e-bike thing, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Hey, so I got some motorcycle recall notifications that I was going to put out. Yeah, this is from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. I get these emails, and this may affect you, Jeds. 2016 and 19 Bonneville T120s.
Yeah, I got my recall notice in the mail the other day.
Clutch cable may cause loss of electrical power.
Yep.
Same thing, 17 and 19 T100s, the 17 to 18 Scramblers, Street Cups, and 16 to 18 Street Twin.
That's interesting. How does the clutch cable cause loss of electrical power? Does it wear through something?
Well, how the clutch comes down past the steering neck, it comes up by the tank, and there's the wiring harness is right next to where the clutch cable goes, and then as you pull the clutch, that cable starts to wear, and it has actually worn the tape right off. I had to retape it, so I got to bring it in because they have this new bit that protects the harness against the cable.
Yeah,
but that's problem number 3 I've had with my bike since I bought it new 11 months ago.
Yeah, it kind of had the same thing. So here's another one, 2019 Z900 Cowie. Anti-lock brake system may allow wheels to lock up. That's not good. And then
anti-lock brake system may not.
May wheels lock up. May not anti-lock.
Yeah.
It is now lock braking system.
Yeah. And then my bike, KTM 1290 Super Venture 15 to 16, fuel leak from tank cover mounting insert area, which I talked to the dealer about that, and they're like, huh? So he's like, bring it in, we'll look it up. But if you're interested in these, you can go to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, which is www.nhtsa.gov/recalls #VIN. You can find it on their main page, but it's a VIN number lookup tool where you can put your VIN number in and it'll tell you any recalls, any type of vehicle.
That's interesting. KTM is like the sneakiest company. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean like, well, you know, with the exception of like the 790 Duke and the 790 Adventure, they didn't tell anybody about new models they were going to release really at all. So, you know, you don't know when the 2019 Super Duke GT is going to show up, if it's going to be different than the one the year before. Like, all of a sudden, you just go into a dealer and they're like, "Oh yeah, this came in the other day."
Well,
I guess it's the new one.
Were at AIM when they had a booth there and they didn't tell you anything about anything. They did a release at the booth at AIM of a bike that was already out that everybody knew about. You know, they had it all covered up, and I forgot what bike it was. It was the GT, and we were like, "Oh, is that the GT?"
Oh, I must not have been there for that one.
It was one of the ones in Orlando. It might have been.
Oh yeah, I don't think I was there.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at the 19 Super Duke GT. I'm not really a fan of the way this thing looks either. I
don't like the headlight. I like mine.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. It looks like they
took hand guards though.
Goofy duckbill from the V-Strom and put lights in it.
Yeah, that's actually a perfect way to describe that.
The Woody Woodpecker beak that the V-Strom had and stuck some lights in it.
Yeah, they did change the way the windshield operates, which I think is good because the one on mine, the way you move it up and down just makes you feel like you're going to snap it right off the bike.
Right.
And the new one is more like a spring-loaded kind of affair, so you're not like popping it out. You're just kind of like pushing it gently away from like a lock.
So what do you guys, not to change the subject, but I'm gonna real quick here because I just saw it and now my mind works. What do you guys think of the Katana?
Oh, the new Katana?
Yeah. I love the look of it, but I'm kind of a Suzuki nut anyways. But it's based off the GSX,
the original,
yeah.
And I think this thing looks super cool, honestly.
Yeah, I do too. I like the 80s style modernized.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I always thought the Katana was a really neat bike to begin with, but they're claiming like 148 horsepower on this thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do we know what the price is on it yet?
I'm on their website right now, actually. I was talking to Jay LaRosa probably like 7 or 8 years ago. And I was like, hey, so what do you think now that, kind of like the Honda, or not the Honda, the like 70s bike thing is sort of like, it's not completely gone or dead, but it's sort of drying up. Like, it's hard to find cheap 70s bikes that are worth putting any money into to try to resell. He's like, well, obviously, he's like, they're just going to start moving into 80s bikes. Like, the 80s bikes are going to start to become the new popular bike to mod or whatever, because they're the cheap thing that's lying around. And I think that the Katana is just another example of that. Like, it's a new bike, but it's intentionally styled to look like 1980s.
Yeah, but go try to find a 1980s Katana.
Oh yeah, I mean they're an exception. I mean, they're rare and coveted.
Yeah.
But you could probably find a million Nighthawks or, other 80s, KZs.
A lot of those got sucked up for racing though too.
It's looking like the price is about 15 grand.
Okay, yeah, I couldn't find anything
for the bike new, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, that's not surprising, really.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I mean, I'm not really looking to see I haven't looked into what kind of tech is packed into this thing. If there's like rider modes and all that kind of stuff. When Honda came out with the CB 1000 or the 1100, I thought that was way overpriced for what you got.
Yeah,
but then again, that's Honda.
Yeah.
Yep.
They had ST 1300s before they discontinued at $18,000. That was just stupid. But this bike, I think, is probably going to do well in the market. It's cool looking, and it's an upright riding position.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd like to ride one of these. Maybe did you do any demo rides at Daytona, Jez? I think we talked about this.
No, I only did one. I did Indian, and that was all I got on. And when I went this year, it was really busy. Remember last year, Steve, when we went, it was like super slow. We got to the demos. There wasn't traffic. You get on the demo.
Yeah.
It was pretty smooth rolling. It was like, basically, I was demoing the seat and how hot the engine got, because I was going nowhere. There was a lot of traffic this year. So I didn't demo. I just ended up riding.
Okay. Yeah, it's hit or miss. I think I'm going to try to go for Biketoberfest. I mean, I'm going to try.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a big fan of everything that happens around the bike week. Like, I don't like going down to Main Street, the whole bar scene and all that crap.
Mm-hmm.
I primarily I used to want to go to see the races, but I haven't gone since they've changed that. And it's like the Daytona group doing it now. But the demos are kind of cool,
Mm-hmm.
It was better this year at AIM than it was in the past years, because we had a day set up just for the press for demo rides, which worked out a lot better than having to share that time with the people that were there for the event.
Mm-hmm.
This bike would be something that would definitely be on my list. I mean, I'm looking at it now. It's got a big color TFT display. I just like the styling on it. I like the way the back end looks. That'd be kind of neat to ride, I think.
I know the GSXS1000, which is basically what this thing's based off of, is a really great bike. It's basically the model that has been tried and true for years for the Japanese standard bikes. Like the FZ1 is based off the R1, but turned into a standard bike.
Yeah.
And the FZ, now it's MT, but the MT10 is the same thing. It's the new R1 cross-plane crank engine in a standard bike that's upright. So, Suzuki's just following suit. Kawasaki's the Z900. And the Z900 RS is just basically the same thing. You have a 4-cylinder sport bike motor, detuned or retuned to kind of give you on-street performance. But 140 horsepower, that's a lot of beans, man.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
That's fast. That's gotta be,
especially in a lightweight motorcycle,
So
right.
I was just thinking, you guys have both seen Top Gun, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, Kawasaki really should like jump on this whole like
And bring
80s
back
retro
the
thing.
GPZ.
Yeah, make another GPZ 900, especially because the sequel to Top Gun is coming out. They could, release it.
I think they would kill it with that. Honestly, GPZs had really cool styling.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'd
Get
actually like
some
to see
commercials with Tom
Suzuki.
Cruise on the back of a new
I
GPZ.
don't know if I go that far.
What?
It might not sell any if they do that.
Maybe not.
That was like the biggest. And not that there's anything wrong with that but that was like the biggest homoerotic movie that I've ever seen in my life.
I watched a good part of it yesterday, actually.
It's right. Like Rick Rossovich, like, during the whole scene with the beach volleyball
thing. Yeah, in like jeans, dog tags, no shirts.
Right.
And then you've got Goose in like these goofy ass red shorts and like a tank top with like the zinc oxide all over his nose.
Right.
Yeah.
I think Suzuki ought to bring back a TLR too. Or some sort of twin.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they kind of technically did bring back the TLR with the original DL1000, right? Because it was the same motor platform.
Right.
But to bring back like a sport bike or, a semi-standard with that motor in it, I think it'd be pretty cool.
Well, they did re-release the SV650 by popular demand a couple years ago.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the SV1000, that was just a brute of a motor. That thing would just stand up. I got one for relatively cheap. And once I got it up and running, first 3 gears, if you wheelie, very hard. It was actually a hard bike to ride because when exiting technical, the front end just wanted to come right off the ground.
Was that a new motor for them, or was that a
that's based off the TL, I think.
It was. So it was
yeah.
the same thing
the SV1000. Yeah, it was a TL1000 motor.
Yep. It still exists in V-Strom 1000 today.
TL had its problems, there's no doubt, but they could bring it back and fix all that stuff that was wrong with it. But from what guys I know that have raced them, so they were just killer. It was like an RC51.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a cool bike. I mean, I like these 80s bikes a lot. I mean, man, I can't tell you how much I drooled over the original Interceptor, the 750, when it came out.
Yeah.
I wanted one of those so bad. And then they were almost impossible to find because everybody sucked them up for racing, like SV650s, same thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking really closely right now. I'm like clicking back and forth between 2 pictures of a GPZ 900 and the new Suzuki Katana. I think it looks more like a GPZ 900 than it looks like the original Katana.
Really?
Like Suzuki made a GPZ 900. Like that's especially the fairing, like around the headlight.
Yeah, well, especially if you looked at the black and gray one.
Mm-hmm.
That looked a lot like this.
Yeah.
The original Katana was,
weird.
What was groundbreaking?
Yeah, it was very groundbreaking and weird.
What the hell is that thing?
Yeah. Yeah, I really like the new Katana a lot.
The old one, very few of the guys I rode with had one. Like there was maybe one floating around. And I don't know if it was because they were like a limited production or they were expensive, but a lot of guys had GPZs, a lot of them had CBs. There wasn't a lot of Katanas. I don't remember what the reason was.
Well, you could just get into a GS 1100, a GS 1150 or 1150 ES for a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
And those were really fast quarter-mile bikes, straight line bikes.
Right. I don't know. Maybe at the time the styling was a little bit too weird for people,
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. Like I said, the original Interceptor to me was that look that it had was that was the thing that a lot of people were going after. It looked really cool.
I don't think I can hear the word Interceptor and not think of Mad Max, though. Like, I realize that that's a car in Mad Max, not a motorcycle, but it just makes me think of Mad Max anytime anybody says the word Interceptor.
Well, I think everybody, when you nowadays, when you talk about it, people are thinking of the ones from you know, the last generation of it. They had the two pipes underneath the seat.
Yeah.
You know, it for a while, the early 2000s, it went to this like kind of weird rounded fairing look, and then they came out with that angular looking thing. I'm trying to remember what year that was. In a second. So, yeah, the VFR 700.
Yeah.
It went to an 800, I think.
Yeah, VTEC 800 V4.
Yeah, the VTEC 800, right? The VFR 800. 2002, I think, was the first year for that bike. Jets, am I right?
I mean,
The
it's the
2000 was rounded, like weird looking.
I'm not 100% sure. I know they went to they were a 750, and then they went to the 750 VTEC, and then they went to the 800.
Yeah.
And very, very similar. I mean, it's a V4, but the RC51, like they're both cam driven or gear driven cams, so they have that distinct whine. So,
right. So they have a 19 version of it too. I think it might only be in Japan though. You guys seen that?
Mm-mm. Oh, a new Interceptor?
Yeah.
I've seen. Oh man, I'm dying over here. The tuberculosis.
You just stop smoking those unfiltered cigarettes, man.
I guess so. American tradition or American spirit?
It's just lawn clippings that they repackage as a cigarette and wrap in rolling papers made from dirty old underwear. That's what that is.
What the heck? Well, I feel like I've never seen this motorcycle. I remember when it came out, the Neo Sports Cafe from Honda.
About? What?
Yeah. If you go to powersports.honda.com, they have a line of motorcycles called the Neo Sports Cafe. I remember when they released like concept photos of it.
Oh yeah, the 250 and the 1000.
Yeah.
Or no, it's a 300. I'm sorry.
So there is a current, 2015. It looks like was the last year of the Interceptor.
Wait. You got off the goofy Neo Sports thing first.
I know. It is very goofy looking.
Well, hold on a minute, because is this like the Batmobile thing that they came out with for a while, or is this going to be something that we're gonna like? This is a street model.
Yeah, if you go to powersports.honda.com and then
Cafe. I feel like this is just one of a rebadged bike they already had. Am I right or am I wrong, or is this something completely new? This looks like the CB1000R ABS is just a restyled bike.
I think it's based off the what is it? The CBR 1000, not a CBR, because CBRs are technically sport bikes.
God awful ugly.
I know the CB300R Retro Neo is based off the CB300.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
man, I just can't. This is the ugliest thing I've ever seen.
It doesn't look any better in person. I saw one at a dealer. I'm like, ugh.
I forgot this thing existed, and I kind of wish I had continued to not remember that it existed. I have a 650 model though, which is kind of cute.
Oh my god, what were they thinking?
It's Honda. They just love to kill stuff.
Yeah. They were thinking they were trying to keep up with everyone else that's sending out, retro modern classics, I guess. But there's nothing modern classic about it, and I'm not a fan.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a Honda, it'd run, I guess.
There's an ass for every seat. Somebody loves that thing.
I'm sure we'll get some mail about it.
God bless them.
What I really need in my life is a Super Cub. Or a monkey.
The monkeys are cool.
Oh my God. I've been thinking about that too, man. And for the price point, like you can start finding used units for less than $4,000. It's like, I would love to have one of those to tool around on and drive down to the lake too.
That's just the color of the Super Cub is so nice. Like the blue with the leg shields are not white. They're
what color are they?
they look white in pictures, but they're kind of like a really pale blue. And then with that red seat, I don't know, I just love it.
That's a cool bike, man. I like that bike. I'd have one of those.
And the monkeys are super nice in person, like chrome fenders, a lot of nice chrome accents, just like really nice, high quality, modern, classic looking motorcycle.
Have you ridden one of these yet, Jeds? The monkey?
No. Nope. I haven't ridden the new ones. I haven't ridden anything fuel injected. Of course, I've had my first technical bike was a Honda Passport or a Honda Cub, like an 81 was a 70, but not a modern one. No.
They're both based on the Grom motor and everything.
Yeah, the 125
market stuff out for the Grom motors too.
Yeah. So when I was over at Dave Hargrave's place, not that long ago, right after I bought my my electric bicycle, I was telling him about it, and he's like, "I get it, you know, the whole not using gas thing is really cool, but he's like, but have you heard of Motoped?" And so both of you guys go to motoped.com, and if you're listening along at home, follow along with us, ladies and gentlemen. Motoped.com. I remember when they came out on Kickstarter, they basically looked like a half moped, half dirt bike. Or, all right, sorry, half dirt bike, half mountain bike. So kind of like a moped dirt bike.
What the hell is this?
Right. So if you...
Yeah, what is this?
Dude, it's a 50cc or 49cc.
Somebody sold the frame.
So basically, it's a 49cc lay down motor, so you don't have to wear a helmet. Click through the different models. They've got a beach cruiser looking one. They've got a crazy whacked out survivalist one.
Dude, survival Black Ops. Look at that.
I know. They've got a dirt bike one, and there's videos of guys taking the dirt bike one off like legit jumps, like doing backflips with them, all kinds of crazy stuff. And the cool thing is, it's a lay down Honda clone, which means you can find them up to like 230cc motors.
Right.
And they look pretty much exactly the same. You can buy them in 50 or 125cc from Motoped, but like you could throw like a 210cc or 104cc like Leaf-On motor in there, and no one would ever know. So they just see guy on a moped riding with no helmet down the boardwalk, pedaling his little thing away, and then he thumbs a little lever, starts the bike up, and is riding a wheelie down the street.
What the hell is this thing on the back of the Survival Black Ops bike? Is that
it's a crossbow. It has a utility bike style like rack that has Rotopax mounts, and you could put whatever you want on there.
Oh,
but the Black Ops version has a crossbow.
You're gonna see every Timmy Tactical on one of these things.
I know. But I really like, they have two versions that look like cafe racers. They have a dirt bike. The beach cruiser one though looks so cool.
The cafe one's badass.
With like the bamboo fenders and like the Springer seat.
Why didn't you tell me about this before? Like what?
I just found out about it a couple days ago. So I knew about the dirt bike version when it was on Kickstarter, but I didn't think they would ever actually make them, and I kind of forgot about them.
Wow.
Yeah. And they're about $3,000 to $4,000. So
yeah, $2,500 to $3,300 for the Pro.
Right. For the price of a medium range electric bicycle, you could have one of these. However, gearing wise, like this does not fit my purpose for wanting an electric bicycle, but I still really want one.
Why not though? Why would this not replace that? Because it's fuel.
Yeah, well, partially fuel, but also, I mean, sure, you'd get probably 110 miles per gallon out of this thing.
Right.
But the gearing for pedaling, I'm sure, is quite a pain in the ass. Like, I want something that I can pedal and like get a workout in on the way to and from work, but I don't want to kill myself trying to pedal a like 180-pound bicycle.
Right.
So, yeah, this is a fixed speed. There's no gearing on this.
Yep.
Yeah. However, just as a toy to like have fun with and ride around, hell yeah, I want one.
Dude, it's got a suicide shift.
Yeah, they're crazy.
How's that working? How does the transmission work on this thing? 'Cause it's chain driven with, so there is a transmission in it then, right?
Yeah, there's a basically the engine and the pedals go to a shaft, and then that shaft has a chain, has a sprocket that connects to the rear sprocket.
Yeah.
So if you're pedaling, you can turn that shaft, or the motor will turn that shaft for you.
Yeah, but whatever gear you're in, the pedaling should still be the same, correct? In other words,
Yes,
like
the pedaling is always going to be the same. The engine is geared so you can get different speeds out of the rear wheel, but the pedaling is always a fixed,
gear.
fixed ratio.
This is like a Grom knockoff motor.
It's a 50cc Honda laydown, kind of thing.
Is it a Chinese built bike?
Yeah, everything is Chinese built, Steve.
Yeah, you're right.
But yes, it's a company, kind of like, well, just like any other company, they design them here and they're built over there to their spec.
It's just weird with no like down tube. Like it looks like somebody stole the frame.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Monkey or the Grom, without any like front frame, because you don't really need that part anyway. Like even on my Bonneville, the subframe pieces that wrap around the bottom of the bike do absolutely nothing except hold a kickstand.
Yeah, you don't need that. You don't need that thing. Just
really like they're not structural members. Really, they don't. They're just the engine is the like stressed frame member, and so those down tubes are like there for looks and holding a kickstand, and like being a mounting point for like the oil cooler and stuff like that.
So they have an option. You said this right, up to 125 cc's.
Yes.
Of travel.
Yes. Let the darkness flow through you. There's a cool little video of somebody riding it, the beach cruisery one on like the boardwalk in Venice Beach or whatever. It might not be Venice Beach, but it looks like LA.
So you guys got to check this out.
Motoped.
Motoped.com. This is cool. Oh, we actually something interesting today.
Yeah, it's this guy on. He's on in a bicycle helmet because he's not riding. He's got a 50cc motor or 49cc motor. He's got a bicycle helmet. He rides down the boardwalk and then he just like bounces off the curb and hits a little button and you hear bike starts up and off he goes.
I gotta check this out. All right, so listen, we're way over time now.
It happens.
It's going to be a long episode because we've got Crash's interview.
Yeah, it's like a 20-minute interview.
Jeds, tell everybody what you do and where they can find you.
I write a lot, and you can find me at www.jedsmoto.com. I've got YouTube, Instagram, Jedsmoto, Facebook, Jedsmoto. Email me.
This guy will ride in snow, man. He is just hardcore.
Yeah, dude, you ride all the time.
Yeah. I'm at 5,000 miles so far this season.
What do you mean by this season?
Well, he's in Vermont.
But I was
going to say,
Florida. I mean, I started riding. I mean, I ride all year round, but I mean, I have the DT 125. That's it. I mean, my real riding was when I went to Florida. So that was March. I started in March.
All right. When you say this season, I'm like, you live in the frozen tundra. Like, when does the season start?
If we're lucky, if I have to start it in March, I have to find dry roads. So I travel south. I start in March. So.
Okay. So I think I'm going to try to go with Jeds and the guys from Amen Moto, Scott and Doug Ham and Cheese, to the BMW MOA rally, which is June 13th through the 15th.
Nice.
And I may ride up with Scott, but he's planning some really long riding days, and I'm old, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. I am hopefully going to be going tomorrow to the Motorcyclist Magazine Alley Rally in LA. I found out about it this morning.
Oh, cool.
It's literally just
take some pictures.
I took a bunch of pictures of the OG show. I've been posting those.
Oh, okay. All right.
But yeah, literally, I guess they ride through a bunch of like weird back alleys and stuff in LA. I don't know. It sounds interesting.
What you need to do is have a recording of Jed's laugh that you can play while you're riding in those back alleys.
Whatever, Steve.
Yeah.
Dude, I love you, man.
I know, man.
So next month in May is the Overland Expo West. I'll be attending that.
Cool.
And maybe I'll take pictures. Maybe I won't. I'm going to take pictures. I'm taking recording equipment too. Try to get a few interviews in. Maybe. I'm taking a car to that. I'm going to sleep in it. And then in June, July, like the 4th of July weekend, we're going to Mid Ohio.
Oh, cool. Perfect.
Yeah.
All right, good. So we got some stuff planned.
A lot of stuff coming up.
All right, man. Check us out on caferacerpodcast.com. We're on everywhere on the internet, on Instagram. We do a lot on Facebook and Instagram. And if you like the show, give us a review. You can send us email at feedback@caferacerpodcast.com. We got a couple letters that we'll read next show.
Yeah, and thanks to all our Patreons that support us. We got 2 new Patreons in the last week or so. I'm super stoked about that.
Cool.
Yeah, if you have not gotten your sticker pack yet, it's in the mail. If you went and supported 2 days ago, I'm going to put your sticker pack together as soon as I'm done recording this, and then it'll be in the mail.
Oh, we're also going to be giving away a Dainese ventilated jacket, some gloves, and a shark helmet coming up. We got a donation of some gear that somebody bought brand new and never bought a motorcycle and said, "Hey man, I don't need this. Give it away." So the stuff's brand new. I mean, no tags on it, no boxes, but brand new gear, never been used. And
awesome.
We're going to give it away. All right, man.
Well, without further ado, get out and ride.
That's all I got. See ya.